Hey there, welcome back into the College Basketball Bracket Science YouTube channel, your encyclopedia for the college basketball season and beyond. We're back with another preseason episode today. Today we're talking Big 12. This is the second of our Power Conference previews. Last 2 weeks ago was the ACC, so if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check that out. Got a lot of interactions on that, some good, some bad, of course. So today we're going to be talking about the Big 12 Power Rankings, 1 through 16. It is a 16-team conference. We're going to talk about the roster breakdowns of all of these teams. We'll talk about our preseason All-Big 12 team, 1 through 5, plus a couple honorable mentions. Now, I will mention we did not do this last week with the ACC. Kind of didn't even really think about doing it until, right in this podcast. So we're also going to give a little love to the ACC, and we'll go over that one as well later in the show. Big thing coming into this year in conference play and in just national championship glory play, I guess you can say, is Houston. Houston may be preseason number one. In fact, they probably will be preseason number one. Is this their conference to lose? Are they the best team coming into next season? We're going to talk about that here in a second. For more, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Bracket Science with 2 S's. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Stay up to date on the college basketball world. We'll be talking every single power conference, and then, of course, a little bit of the best of the rest. We'll do some mid-major love and, so on and so forth. Without further ado, let's talk about our preseason Big 12 rankings. Here is the list right here, 1 through 16. The top 6, fairly easy to rank. They can be in any order that you put them, but there's a top 6, and then there's pretty much like a next 5 or 6, honestly. So let's talk about them. If you see me looking a little bit to the left, or maybe you're right, whatever, if this is mirrored, it's because I'm looking at my cheat sheet for the rosters that I've put together. I'm trying to keep track of all of these rosters throughout the Power Conference and some of the high-profile Gonzagas of the world, St. Mary's of the world. I know I'm going to be missing a player at some point. I don't think I missed anyone in the ACC. I'm going to say every time I probably don't think I missed a player, but if I am, just let me know politely, of course, that I'm missing a guy. But Houston, their starting lineup, I do not believe I'm missing a guy here. Their lineup looks like this. Milos Uzan is back for another year. He will, without a doubt, be a preseason All-Big 12 guy, maybe even a preseason All-American, probably on one of the teams. They also bring back Emmanuel Sharp. He had a great season last year, dealt with some injuries, got to the national championship, has a sour taste in his mouth after the last minute of the national championship game. But Emmanuel Sharp is back, and I will guess hungrier than ever. They also bring in some 5-star freshmen with Chris Senack Jr. He is the one to know. He is going to step into a big role. Can he really score the ball? He's probably going to be needed to. They also bring in Isaiah Harwell, Kingston Flemings, Bryce Jackson, a little of the lower profile guys, but Isaiah Harwell, also a big-time recruit. They also bring back Ramon Walker, who will step into a bigger role, and then Joseph Tugler, Jojo Tugler. He will be the preseason pick for just about everyone for Defensive Player of the Year. 7'6" wingspan, moves quick, is going to block shots at an insane rate. Their defense is going to be probably, I'll be shocked if it's worse than second. If they get to third, that'd be, it's still a really good season, but I'm guessing they're going to be first or second. The big question with Houston, how are they going to score the ball this year? Milos Uzan is going to have to take a big step. If one of these freshmen can't, really be a 13 to 15 point per game kind of guy, Chris Senack Jr. or Isaiah Harwell, that's asking a lot for freshmen. So a little bit of the scoring is going to have to come from somewhere. Emmanuel Sharp, we know, can score the ball. Milos Uzan really popped off in the second half of the season last year. So it's going to be up to them. We know their defense is going to be great. They have the highest floor out of anyone in the country next year. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'll be shocked if they're not a 1 or 2 seed come March Madness next year. All right, number 2, and I went back and forth way too many times on this one as I try and find them here. I kept going back and forth on Texas Tech or BYU. I ended up landing on Texas Tech. Texas Tech coming off of an Elite 8 run, and honestly, at worst, should have been Final Four. They let that game go late to eventual national champion Florida. Grant McCasland off to a tremendous start in his Texas Tech tenure, though. Was a 6 seed last year, 3 seed this previous year, where they obviously made the Elite 8, and kind of a rough finish to the season. But Texas Tech is going to be back. They bring in Donovan Atwell, the transfer from UNC Greensboro. They bring back Christian Anderson. Christian Anderson is going to be a name to know this year. Back for his sophomore year, is on everyone's sophomore breakout. He's a candidate this year for biggest improvement by any player in college basketball. They also bring in Lawan Watts, the transfer from Washington State. Josiah Mosley, transfer from Villanova, pretty familiar name there, but the guy to know. JT Toppin is back for his junior year. He got a bag. He's got about $3 million, it's been rumored. He may be the preseason favorite to win the Player of the Year award, probably either him or Braden Smith, but JT Toppin has as good a chance as just about anybody. He is going to be just phenomenal this upcoming year. He's phenomenal last year. He was phenomenal the year before. JT Toppin, Texas Tech has a guy that they can build around, and that is just the combination of Christian Anderson and JT Toppin is the reason I put him ahead of BYU. I know their continuity. I know what I'm going to get from them. I think Lawan Watts is a perfect fit in the system to kind of replace Darian Williams. It's hard to replace Darian Williams. He's really good, but Lawan Watts has that potential to step in and fulfill a role that was somewhat similar to Darian Williams. Then I like the additions of Mosley and Atwell. I think this team's going to be really good. I know what I'm getting with Anderson and Toppin. I know they're going to be one of the best duos in the country. I put them at number 2. All right, so at number 3, I did end up with BYU. Could easily see them in the number 2 rank. They're a more talented team than Texas Tech. I will say that. Their coach isn't as proven, and I know that's crazy because Grant McCaslin's still really young for Texas Tech. BYU had a great year last year. They made the Sweet 16 in year 1 under Kevin Young, and they have an absolute just all-star looking roster this year. It's going to come together at some point. Will it come together early? I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, everyone knows AJ DeManza. He is the freshman to know number 1 recruit in the country by many of the the recruiting databases. They also bring back Richie Saunders, who is going to be a pro. He's one of the most fun guys to watch in college basketball. Just his game just looks so silky smooth. They also bring back Dawson Baker, who is just a kind of glue guy sort of role. They bring in Rob Wright from Baylor, who really had a real good showing in March Madness last year, along with the Big 12 tournament. He really improved throughout the year under Scott Drew last year. He is also rumored to be getting about $2 million for this team. And then Kiba Kita will be the center role. He is one of the most underrated players in all of college basketball. He is a freak athlete. He's huge. He's muscular. Kiba Kita is a name to know because he's going to play, he's sort of like what KJ Adams is for Kansas, except doesn't try and shoot like KJ Adams did. He's just a little bit, what you're getting with him. And he's not going to have to be a star in this system with all this firepower that they got coming in. Other freshmen they brought in, they did bring in Xavion Stanton. He's the 33rd ranked recruit in the country. Then they also bring in, I want to mention the name Nate Pickens, the transfer from UC Riverside. He's going to back up Rob Wright. I think he's a good little backup, and they got a nice little bargain for him there. But this starting 5, I would put up against, in terms of talent, just about anyone in the country. It is unbelievably talented. We'll see how quick it comes together, how quick the continuity will come. This could be, as crazy as it sounds, this could be a season where you see BYU, they're 2nd or 3rd ranked in the country. Yeah, it could happen. This team's got a ton of talent, got a ton of hype, and they've just got money after money coming in for, down in Utah. Is that where BYU is? I believe it's Utah. All right, let's move on. It's got to be Utah, right? I know they're rivals with Utah, but I believe it's in Utah. I think it's on a border of somewhere, but yeah. They got a bright future going at BYU there. They got billionaires backing them. All right, next up, let's talk about Arizona. Arizona coming in, what year is this? Year 4, it must be, under Tommy Lloyd. How is time going so fast? They have a really nice team coming back for another year. They're the default number 4 team right now, in my opinion. Maybe you'll see them at 3rd or 2nd in other people's rankings. Couldn't get there above Texas Tech and BYU, but they have a really good roster. They bring back Jaden Bradley for his senior year. They also have a fantastic freshman class in Braden Burries and Koa Pete. Koa Pete's kind of the guy to know, top 10 recruit. They bring back Toby Owaka, and Motajais Krivas is back for another year. He was my big guy last year of being a breakout candidate. He got hurt, wasn't really too fantastic before he got hurt. So the talent's still there. He's huge. We'll see what he can do this year. And then they do bring back Anthony Del Orso. I'm not 100% sure on him. He actually, I was very, very against him last year going to Arizona. I didn't think he'd be able to make the leap. And he was better than I thought he was going to be. He made some big shots, just kind of a fiery, Aiden Mahaney sort of guy down the stretch, but was much better than Aiden Mahaney throughout the season. So he'll look to make some improvement. He's got to bulk up a little bit. They also bring in transfer Evan Nielsen from Harvard, obviously a smart guy. Then they do have Bryce James, depending on what you think about Bryce James, along with a couple other foreign recruits as well coming over, one from Spain and one from Germany. I'm not even going to try and pronounce their names, but Arizona looks like they're going to be a top 15-ish team this upcoming season. All right, next up, Iowa State. Iowa State coming off a little bit of a disappointing year last year. Not really to their own fault. They had injury bugs, and they couldn't get past them. It was a season where they just really could not get past them. They do bring back Milan Momcilovic, who was one of those injured last year. Taman Lipsey was also beat up last year. He is back for another year. And then Josh Jefferson could be a preseason all Big 12 sort of guy. Really good basketball player, Josh Jefferson. They also bring back Nate Heisey, and then they bring in Blake Buchanan from Virginia, who will kind of protect the paint down there. Good defensive player. Not a ton of transfers coming in. We know what they're doing. They're trying to build from within. They're trying to build that continuity. TJ Altenberger has done a fantastic job. I think they'll be a top 20 team. Yet again, they got a couple freshmen coming in, most notably Jamarian Bateman, the 43rd ranked recruit in the country. Alrighty, next up, let's talk about the Kansas Jayhawks, 6th after being preseason number 1 the previous 2 years. I think this is exactly what Kansas needs. They need not an all-star roster, and they kind of just got to go back to fundamentals. Maybe it won't be this year that, they make a Final Four. When you're Kansas, you're expecting to make an Elite Eight or a Final Four, win a national championship, as hard as that is to do. I think this is kind of just going to be a building year to kind of get back to their roots and build what Bill Self has done before the transfer portal. He's done great in the transfer portal. He gets talent. It just hasn't all come together. I think Kansas fans are just really happy that DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, and Hunter Dickinson are out of there. Not saying they weren't great individual players. It just didn't work, and they needed a reset. Remember Elmarco Jackson? He is going to be coming back from injury. He may be starting in the point guard role, either him or Melvin Council, the transfer from St. Bonaventure. Don't really know how I feel about the Melvin Council edition. Not my favorite edition, but we'll see. They also bring in Jaden Dawson, the transfer from Loyola Chicago, and then the main one, the guy to know, Darren Peterson. He's going to be their stud. He, in my opinion, is the best freshman in the country. Above AJ DeBanza, I would have him above, which he has surpassed him in quite a few recruiting databases. Darren Peterson, the guy to know. Trey White also transfers in from Illinois. Jamari McDowell is back for another year, kind of a notable name. Flory Badunga, he is the big man to know. The duo of Darren Peterson and Flory Badunga could be as good as we see in the country. Now, everything is going to have to add up perfectly for Kansas to be like, a top 5-ish team, which I know seems like they're 6th in the Big 12 in my rankings, but that's what Kansas typically is, right? Like they're a top maybe 1 program in the country, top 3 at worst. What they're going to need is they're going to need Darren Peterson to be the best player in college basketball, if not one of the few best in college basketball. He's going to be awesome, don't get me wrong, but the duo of him and Flory Badunga is going to have to be just a pick and roll menace all season long. Flory Badunga just dunks everything. Kind of reminds me of what Bam Adebayo was in college. Obviously now Bam Adebayo developed a shot and is a tremendous shooter, but back in college, Bam Adebayo did not shoot threes. He just dunked everything. That's what Flory Badunga does. Darren Peterson, Flory Badunga duo could be one of the best in the country, and it will have to be one of the best in the country for this Kansas team to be, top 5, top 10 in the country and vying for a 1, 2, or 3 seed. Next up, I got Baylor, and Baylor, quite frankly, is one of those teams where how do you rank them? I have no idea. They're all transfers. They lost everyone from last year's team. It is incredible. They bring in Dan Skillings from Cincinnati. We'll see. He's got a lot of talent. Didn't really pop at Cincinnati last year. Was supposed to be, one of their key guys on just a disappointing Cincinnati team. They bring in Obi Agneem from Wyoming. They bring in Michael Rata from Oregon State. They bring in Juslin Bodo from High Point. They bring in they've got a lot going on. They bring in Tondi Yesufu, a 5-star, or I believe he's a 5-star freshman, 17th ranked recruit in the country. So that's probably going to be your starting lineup there. They also brought in Cam Carr from Tennessee. Remember Cam Carr, who like left early in the year last year at Tennessee? Weird things going on. I don't really feel great about the vibes going into this season for Baylor, but I trust Scott Drew. I trust his ability to put a team together and make them, have some continuity. Not that they have continuity, but make them work with each other well. So we'll see what they can do, but it's an interesting lineup. They also have Andre Iguodala II, by the way, randomly on their roster coming in for his freshman year. All right, let's move on to Cincinnati. Speaking of that disappointing team last year, let's buy into them yet again and put them in the top half of the Big 12, even though Wes Miller hasn't proven anything that, he's the man for the job, and he is in a hot seat year this year. 100% is on a hot seat year. They bring back Jizzle James and Day Thomas back from what was supposed to be one of the better backcourts in the country last year. Didn't really end up working out. They do bring in Kerr Kriisa, the transfer from Kentucky. He's been just about everywhere. They also bring in Sincere Harris, who was at West Virginia last year. He's dealt with some injuries. Also was at Illinois previously. Really good defender. Has really been doing well in off-season play, but we'll see. A team that really needs scoring went out and got like one of the best defending guards in the country. So I'm not like it fits because that's what they're about, but we'll see. Jalen Celestine transfers in from Baylor, and Baba Miller comes in from FAU. They also bring in Mustafa Thiem. This is the guy to know. I love Mustafa Thiem. He is going to be. I think he's going to be. I believe he might need to potentially get a waiver or a red shirt cleared or something. If he plays, though, he's one of the most underrated players in the country. He is a big guy down low who just blocks everything. So this team has, one of the best defenders in general in the country and team, and they also have one of the best on-ball defenders in the country in Sincere Harris. They could be defensively really good, which is why I have them in the top half of the Big 12. But they're going to need scoring from somewhere. I don't know where it's going to come from, but they are going to need it from somewhere. So we'll see what Wes Miller can do in his kind of his bubble year here. All right, from here on, I think the top 8 is fairly I think it's fairly obvious. I do think there's a big gap from Kansas to Baylor, and then Baylor to Cincinnati are kind of your obvious next two. After this, it gets a little bit sketchy, and the bottom half of the Big 12 hasn't been as good as it's been in previous years. Last year, I mean. I went with Kansas State next just because I think their floor is so high with PJ Haggerty. PJ Haggerty is so good offensively that like you're not going to struggle on offense. You have a dude that you can go to every single time. They also they bring in Nate Johnson from Akron. They bring in Abdi Bashir from Monmouth. They bring in Tyreek Smith from Memphis. They bring in Kamari McGriff from UNC Wilmington. So, there's a little bit of continuity on the roster with PJ Haggerty and Tyreek Smith, both playing at Memphis last year on a team that was a 5 seed. David Castillo is also back for another year. He's kind of a notable name. Marcus Johnson also transfers in from Bowling Green. So, yeah, you see a lot of lower major guys transferring up outside of the Memphis guys. PJ Haggerty, he's basically the reason I have them at number 9. I'm bought into him. Jerome Tang's kind of, starting to lose some hope from some of the people down in Kansas at Kansas State. So kind of a not quite a bubble season or a hot seat season for Jerome Tang, but you better start winning. Made the Elite 8 in year 1 with Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson. It's about time. They got all the money in the world. They're dishing out millions of dollars to PJ Haggerty. They got to start winning. Or people are going to start getting upset. Next up, West Virginia, first year under Ross Hodge. He is part of the Grant McCaslin train, who we have Texas Tech. He'll be coaching against him. He took over the reins at North Texas and, made the NIT 2 years in a row. Made a run last year to the semifinals of the NIT. Ross Hodge, tremendous coach, kind of just one of those guys that everyone's like, oh, he's underrated. We're so excited to have him. And now it's like everyone is kind of on the Ross Hodge train. So he's not really underrated anymore. Everyone's starting to realize how good a coach he is. So as you'd expect, they bring in a million transfers, starting with Honor Huff, transfer from Chattanooga. Really good team last year. That Chattanooga team that actually won the NIT. Bring in Trayson Eaglestaff, who dropped a 50 bomb last year. He transfers in from North Dakota. Chance Moore transfers in from St. Bonaventure. Brennan Lorient transfers in from North Texas to follow Coach Ross Hodge. Then Harlan, I apologize for the name, Obioha, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's a transfer in from UNC Wilmington as well. They bring in Morris Ugasuk from South Carolina, and Jasper Floyd also follows his coach from North Texas. And finally, we'll mention just Jackson Fields, the transfer from Troy, who did make the NCAA tournament last season. So West Virginia, bit of an unknown right now, kind of just buying into Ross Hodge and what he can do there. Another program you just kind of got to buy into when you're looking at the bottom half just about every year of the conference is TCU. TCU is it's been really good under Jamie Dixon. Last year, that team was no good, and they still did not finish. I don't remember where they finished, but it was somewhere around the 11-12 mark, I believe. Someone fact checked. They might have even been better. That team was not good last year. After preseason or non-conference play, I thought that was going to be the worst team in the Big 12 or top 3 worst teams in the Big 12. They weren't that bad in the Big 12. It's just, the system that Jamie Dixon has created. It looks like they're kind of lacking for a little bit of money, obviously last year with the roster, and even this year a little bit with the roster. They brought in Jaden Pierre from Providence. They brought in Brock Harding from Iowa, 2 decent gets. From Oregon State, they brought in Lutaris Lelevisius, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's something tough. Malik Diallo is back for another year, and David Punch is back. Roster doesn't look great. Just kind of buying into the system. That's kind of what you get to when you're ranking the bottom half of these schools. All right, next up, let's talk about UCF. UCF. We know they're going to be transfer heavy just about every year. We didn't know they'd be this transfer heavy. Pretty much everyone on their team is a transfer other than one freshman. So brand new roster, just like Baylor. However, they got a couple decent guys. They brought in Riley Kugel. Remember Riley Kugel from Mississippi State last year, who's also previously at Florida, was supposed to transfer to Kansas. He's just all over the place right now. BJ Freeman also transfers from Arizona State. He was a starter last year. Jamichael Stillwell from Milwaukee. John Bull from Ole Miss. Themis Folks also from Milwaukee. They brought in George Beal Jr. from Hampton. I'm not going to go over all of these guys. They also did bring in David Cambridge from Texas Tech. He's another notable name to kind of know. Bit of an unknown. What will Johnny Dawkins do? We will see. Last year they were, on the bubble for most of the year. Ended up outside the tournament, but they were around. Now the last 3, it's kind of last 4, it's kind of pick your poison of what you think. I went with Oklahoma State next. This roster is not good, but they weirdly have like individually decent players. Victorious Miller transfers from LSU. Anthony Roy transfers from Green Bay. He averaged like 25 a game last year, but he was on that Green Bay team with Doug Gottlieb, and they were horrible. One of the worst teams, not coached well, obviously, if you're getting coached by Doug Gottlieb. So he can really score the ball, but going from a 2-win Green Bay team up to Oklahoma State, it's going to be a big ass. They bring in Isaiah Coleman from Seton Hall. Remember Isaiah Coleman? We'll see what he can do. They bring in Kanye Clary from Mississippi State. I don't buy into the hype of Kanye Clary at all. I thought he actually just hurt Mississippi. I mean, he had a bad year in general, so maybe he just had a bad year. But he really hurt Mississippi State last year and their ceiling and even their floor it ended up being. They also bring in Jalen Curry from UMass and Christian Coleman from UAB. They do retain Robert Jennings, who will probably play significant minutes this year. And then they did bring in Parsafala from Oregon State. So it's like, it looks okay, but we'll see. We'll see. It's like the talented. It seems like, I know they're lacking for money. They did about what they could with the money that they have coming in. So not too horrible. Could see them, shocking a few teams just with their individual talent, but doesn't look like a tournament team to me. Next up is Utah, another, new hire. You think they're going to get a bunch of new guys. Their roster looks really bleak. A ton, and I mean a ton of up transfers. They bring in Alex Jensen, who I think is a decent coach. I followed him quite a bit for the Canton Charge. He won Coach of the Year one year. I think he's a decent coach, but he seemed like, a guy following that Kevin Young sort of feel with coming from the NBA assistants down to the college level, and then you get a bunch of dudes, just like Kevin Young did. Alex Jensen did not get a bunch of dudes. He brought in a bunch of low major guys. He brought in Terrence Brown from Fairleigh Dickinson, brought in Elijah Moore from Syracuse, who, I don't really remember either. That Syracuse team was so bad last year. Brought in Seydou Traore from Iowa. Okay. They brought in Ja'Kai Howard from Auburn. Okay. He's the one who got in a fight on a plane. I don't really see the vision with this Utah team. And then they brought in a transfer from Akron, a transfer from Western Kentucky, Fairleigh Dickinson. And yeah, that is what it's looking like. It doesn't look good for this Utah team for this upcoming year. But Alex Jensen seems like he's a pretty good coach, but did not get a bunch of dudes this year. All right, next up, Arizona State, in what, mark my words, I believe will be the last season under Coach Bobby Hurley. I think they're just ready for it. This roster looks rough, and I mean rough. Speaking of up transfers, listen to these up transfers. This is every transfer listed from Arizona State. Maurice Odom from Pepperdine, not a good team last year. Adante Hulleman from Georgia Southern, not a good team last year. Santiago Truitt from San Diego, not a great team last year. Alan Mukiba from Oakland. Oakland was, I mean, no disrespect, not a place I'd be going to hunt down transfers unless your name's Trey Townsend or Zach Golke. Marcus Adam Jr. from CSUN. Bryce Ford from Toledo. Anthony Johnson from an NAIA school. That's it. They didn't get one high major transfer. They don't retain a lot. Quite frankly, Bobby Hurley never retains a lot. This roster's bad. That's why I have them 15th. I know it seems shocking because they seem to have decent money. I have them 15th. I couldn't put them ahead of Oklahoma State or Utah. I think this is the 15th best team. Then unfortunately, by default, it's just kind of Colorado. They have no money whatsoever, and I mean no money. This team just looks rough. Barrington Hargis transferring from UC Riverside. John Monty, the transfer from Denver. That's all the transfers they got. They were bad last year. It looks like they're not going to be too fantastic this year yet again. Unfortunately for Colorado and Colorado fans, they are putting their money in different departments down there, it seems, than the Coach Prime effect. All right, that's it. 1 through 16. Houston, Texas Tech, BYU, Arizona, Iowa State, Kansas, Baylor, Cincinnati, K-State, West Virginia, TCU, UCF, Oklahoma State, Utah, Arizona State, Colorado. This one kind of flowed easily with looking at the rosters. Hopefully I didn't. I'm sure I missed someone in a roster or something, but I'm trying my hardest. Trying to be as accurate as possible while also getting the content out there. But yeah, this is what I landed on. Top 8, I think, are pretty solid. I'd say they get 7 or 8 bids in this March Madness. Maybe, West Virginia can shock some people, or Kansas State, PJ Haggerty, maybe 9, but we'll see. All right, let's talk about, before we talk about first team all Big 12, let's give some love to the ACC. We're just going all out of order here. I will just mention them. All ACC, to give them some love from last week's podcast that we didn't do. Marcus Burton, he was the leading ACC scorer last year. Seth Trimble is looking to make a huge jump. I'm bought into his hype. Ryan Conwell, perfect fit at Louisville. Darian Williams, perfect fit at NC State. And then Cam Boozer, maybe the best freshman in the country this year at Duke. Also considered Mikel Brown from Louisville. I'm just not quite there on first team yet. He's small, and I know he makes everything, but he is thin. Then Nick Davidson, perfect fit at Clemson. Then Donnie Freeman at Syracuse. Just how good will Syracuse be? I'm not sure. Okay, before I say this graphic, I want to give a shout out to Josh Jefferson, because I did not put Josh Jefferson on here. You will see Josh Jefferson on here when I do when I post this on Instagram and TikTok. Josh Jefferson should have been on here. I knew it as soon as I added this to, the wait list of graphics to put on here. I was like, I forgot Josh Jefferson. Let's put him on here along with Taman Lipsey down at the bottom for considered. So here's what I landed on. Bracket Science preseason all Big 12. I did put Milos Uzan as a guard from Houston. Darren Peterson, without a doubt. PJ Haggerty, without a doubt. JT Toppin, without a doubt. JT Toppin would be my player of the year in the conference preseason, but he's got competition. He's got Debanza also on there. Debanza, the last one. He's got Debanza. He's got Darren Peterson. PJ Haggerty might average like 25 points a game. So we'll see. I did really want to put JoJo Tugler on here. There just wasn't quite a spot for him. I kind of went back and forth on him or Uzan. It's just Uzan's going to pop more offensively. JoJo Tugler might be the most important player in all of college basketball because of his defensive ability. But yeah, couldn't quite put him on here stat-wise, but we'll see. We'll see. I love JoJo Tugler. So I do have Taman Lipsey, and then remember Josh Jefferson, and then Richie Saunders as a honorable mention, and Koa Pete from Arizona. Could do Braden Burries as well, but I like Koa Pete just a little bit better. All righty, a quick one. We're going to try and keep these about 30 minutes or so for all the conferences. Maybe the Big East will be a little shorter with all the only having 11 teams. But that's our Big 12 power rankings. That's the preseason All-Big 12 team. Houston, it is their conference to lose. They look like they're going to be the preseason #1 team, either them or Purdue. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The Big 12 is always fun to cover. At the top of the league, their home court advantages are just about as good as anyone else, any other conference in the country. So looking forward to seeing this. BYU going to be in the picture. Texas Tech coming off a great year. Houston is the team to beat. Will Kansas and Baylor get back to prime fashion? Iowa State's always right there. We will see. It's going to be a lot of fun to cover the Big 12. Next week will be the Big East, 2 weeks. We're doing these ones every 2 weeks. And then once we're done with all of these, we're going to really start flowing out content once a week with talking about, our preseason rankings, every conference winner, all our predictions, best players in the country, just everything, non-conference games that are coming out. It's going to get busy here as we are, August, September, October, about 3.5 months away from college basketball. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. We're getting there. So be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Bracket Science with 2 S's. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Really helps us out. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers. We'd love to get there before the season so we can continue that to grow. That would be great. You guys are awesome. Let me know what you're thinking about the preseason power rankings. We'll be posting them everywhere, Instagram, TikTok. Go check it out. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We will talk to you in a couple weeks. Till then, take care.